4,000 yards should be on the table here, as far as
that's never happened before, has it?
No, he'll be the first Bears quarterback to ever throw for 4,000 yards.
I wouldn't
rookie.
be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if he does 4,000 in 14 games.
So let me tell you this. It is not unreasonable for Caleb Williams to break every Bears passing record in history as a rookie.
Yeah.
If you're a fan who only watches the Chicago Bears, that seems ludicrous. That seems undoable. But it's not.
You need to be more like a dog. We don't need a bunch of cats in here looking in the mirror. Do I look good? I got my extra bands on. I got my other shoes on. We need more dogs.
My beloved charter franchise, Chicago Bears. And boy, oh boy, have I been talking about this team for a while now. Just start at the front of it. Caleb Williams is the Bears starting quarterback, number 1 overall pick. Generational prospect, if you like that word. If you don't like that word, I don't know what else to say. Just one of the better QB prospects in recent history, maybe would be the way to put it. But Caleb Williams is coming into Chicago with probably the best situation a number 1 pick quarterback has ever had. You got DJ Moore, you got Odunze, you got Keenan Allen, DeAndre Swift, Cole Kmet, Gerald Everett. Probably an average offensive line. That's probably the one knock on this offense when you're looking at the total offense. But the Chicago Bears have given Caleb Williams everything possible to be successful in his rookie year. And when you look at recent rookie quarterbacks, you break down their numbers on a per game basis. I don't think there's any reason to expect Caleb Williams to do less than a Baker Mayfield, Jameis Winston, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow type player.
Yeah, that's got to be the floor, right?
Has around him. That's 4,000 yards, 22 touchdowns.
Yeah.
On average. Like that is where my expectation is for Caleb Williams, because that's when I dig through the numbers, that is what makes sense to me. When I look at this supporting cast, when I look at the prospect that Caleb Williams is, when I look at his tape and see what he is and try not to get too excited and try to temper my expectations, I'm also sitting there pushing back against it. Like, you set the bar high for a player like this, because it should be high when you look at this roster.
Yeah, and I mean, historically speaking, obviously this is the best situation a number 1 overall pick has fallen in probably history. But I mean, first round quarterback, it's probably still, I mean,
it's up there.
I guess Lamar was pretty good situation, but I mean,
I don't think Lamar's situation was this.
No,
like,
no.
I don't think it was close.
The outside of coaching.
Yeah, okay, coaching is where, if we're talking pure roster talent, it's
roster talent. It's this is the best by far for a first round quarterback
roster.
Yeah, offensive situation. I mean, for what the quarterback can control, this is far and away the best situation for a first round quarterback. And I mean, you've had some quarterbacks in later rounds win the job, but still, I mean, I can't think of a day 1 starter in the history of the NFL that walked into a better situation offensively for weapons around him, set up for success for what he can control. The defense could go out there and give up 40 a game, but I don't think that's going to happen. But as far as what Caleb Williams can do and what he's in control of, I mean, you expect greatness.
Yeah.
I do.
I mean, so I can pull up my projections here. Jameis Winston, Baker Mayfield, Joe Burrow, CJ Stroud, and Justin Herbert all averaged over 250 yards a game. Like, those were guys who had solid supporting casts, highly drafted players who walked into the NFL with similar pedigree. That's 250 yards a game. That's 4,250 yards across 17 games. Like, 4,000 yards should be on the table here, as far as
that's never happened before, has it?
No, he'll be the first Bears quarterback to ever throw for 4,000 yards.
I wouldn't be surprised if he does 4,000 in 14 games.
So let me tell you this. It is not unreasonable for Caleb Williams to break every Bears passing record in history as a rookie.
And still not live up to expectations?
No, but it also would mean he's breaking every Bears passing record as a rookie.
Yeah.
If you're a fan who only watches the Chicago Bears, that seems ludicrous. That seems undoable. But it's not.
No, I mean, I think if he doesn't break most of the records, it's a year one failure. But then do you fire another coach with the year two quarterback in that situation?
No, you can't. You just can't.
Yeah, I don't think you can. But I mean, if he doesn't throw for 4,000 yards, like you said, that's 250 yards a game. With this offense, with what they went out and got, Keenan Allen, who can, if he's healthy, he can catch 100 balls. DJ Moore, this will be the best quarterback he's ever played with, by far, probably. A top 10 pick at wide receiver, bringing in DeAndre Swift, who can catch 25 to 35 balls from you out of the backfield. A tight end that can catch you 50 to 60 balls.
Here's rookie situations that I ran through since 2015. Just based on some simple like snap counts and PFF grades. Wide receiver talent, it has 2016 Dak Prescott ahead of Caleb, but that's it.
2016 Dak Prescott was the most overrated version of Dak Prescott we've seen.
Yeah. At tight end, he's in the top 10. Running back, probably top 15.
I would put that running back situation better than that, but
it might be.
I understand the grades.
Yeah. Interior O-line, middle of the pack. Offensive tackle, right around middle of the pack. Like this list goes down pretty far. So I know it looks like the bottom at first. So the average across those, he's got the 8th best situation for a rookie quarterback since 2015. And that's without weighting by position group. Like you look at Carson Wentz, Carson Wentz was all O-line. The weapons were not there. Jameis Winston was probably right there, very similar. Lamar Jackson is putting ahead, but again, that's a lot of O-line and tight end. Like the receiver room is really lacking. And if I was going to weight this, the receiver would be my most heavily weighted position.
Yeah. And I mean, so what we're really comparing to as far as situation goes is that 2016 Dak Prescott, where Dak didn't look all that great that year as somebody who watched every single snap of every single game. The numbers were there. Everybody was clamoring for him, but that was Tony Romo's team. Dak didn't have to do a whole lot. They won a lot of games. And, I mean, he was throwing checkdowns. He was missing Des Bryant running wide open down the field multiple times a game. And that was the success that the Cowboys offense had. I mean, I want to say our points per game was not very good, but our defense played so well that it made it seem like the points per game were better than it was. But I just remember so many games of winning like 21-14, but we were very rarely where we scored more than like 30 points a game. And Dak, on as far as numbers went, looked incredible.
Yeah.
So I mean, I can only imagine
what
somebody who
Caleb.
Yeah. In that situation,
similar talent.
Yeah.
Now, let's dig into this a little bit. So at running back, you got Khalil Herbert, you got DeAndre Swift. Swift's the starter, and Herbert is expected to be the number 2 guy. Roschon Johnson might actually be fighting for the number 2 spot here. Roschon was Ryan Poles' draft pick. Khalil Herbert in a contract year here and has struggled to stay healthy, but he's been explosive as all get out when he's been healthy. Strong running back room, not excellent, but not like it's good. It's good depth. There's not a back in here that I'm like, oh, that dude. But like you have.
I think DeAndre Swift can be that guy, but he's got to carry the load, which he really hasn't done yet. But I think he can.
I think DeAndre Swift he's part of a committee in my mind. I don't think that he's gonna be your workhorse because I don't think he's a powerful between the tackles guy. I don't think he's going to be great in pass protection here. I think he's going to be a guy who's working it as a committee with Herbert, with Johnson. I'm not sure where Travis Homer fits in all this. I think Roschon Johnson showed some stuff last year to like.
I love Roschon Johnson.
But he doesn't have the breakaway speed of a Herbert or Swift that you're looking for, though.
He could be like a poor man's David Montgomery.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great way to look at him. I think that's exactly what he is. And then like elusive, but not fast enough to capitalize on the elusiveness.
Yeah, but I mean, if he gets in a rhythm, he can score you 10 to 12 touchdowns and get you 3 to 5 yards of carry every time.
Yeah. And then at
And
the
he can also
wide
pass block.
Yeah, no, he's actually really good at pass pro. He's the one running back in the room who you can trust in pass pro, which is why I think he's going to see the field more than some might expect.
Yeah, well, let's talk about your receivers.
I mean, DJ Moore is going to be the breadwinner here. He's getting the most targets. He is your number one. Keenan Allen coming into a bit of a different role because he has been the primary target getter for years now.
High volume target guy.
Yeah. High volume, lower efficiency guy, but like you can put up with the lower efficiency because he keeps capitalizing on the value. Like he keeps doing it, 11.5 yards per reception might be below average, but if he's doing it over and over and over, it's good because you just can't stop it.
Yeah.
And I'm curious. What were you gonna say?
Oh, so I was just gonna say on Odunze, your first round receiver. I feel like we really haven't seen a big miss on a top end receiver in a few years. I mean, I feel like the valuation process has gotten I wouldn't say concrete, but been pretty solid as far as like top 15 guys go at wide receiver. I mean, there's been obviously some anomalies that have far exceeded than some that maybe not as much, but I mean, what do you expect out of a top 10 wide receiver?
I mean, yeah, like
year one, and
you had Drake London, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Jameson Williams, Jahan Dotson in the top 16. Then you had Treylon Burks at 18. That's probably the first one that wasn't a hit. In 23, I mean, you didn't have any go in the top 15, but you had JSN, Quentin Johnson, Zay Flowers, and Jordan Addison. You had 3 for 4 there, I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the receivers are really contributing early and often. And
in the top 10, absolutely. Top 15, probably, it definitely seems that way. Like, even in 21, it's like Kadarius Toney was at 20. But before that, you had Devonta Smith, you had Jalen Waddle, Jamar Chase.
I mean, even Kadarius Toney wasn't bad when he was healthy on the Giants. I mean, I don't know what happened to him since then, but he was a solid option.
I mean, so I'm really interested to see how Keenan Allen and Odunze coexist here.
Because with DJ Moore,
because you're gonna be in 12 personnel at times. If I'm the Bears, if I am Shane Waldron, I'm sitting here saying, nah, I don't want Keenan Allen blocking in 12 personnel.
Yeah.
He's old. He's important.
Yeah.
We're not using him as a blocker in 12 personnel. Get the kid out there in 12 personnel. Keenan Allen's a slot receiver in 11 personnel.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to see Odunze get more snaps than Keenan Allen.
But maybe not more targets.
Yeah, exactly. I think he's going to be more important in the blocking situations and more of a downfield threat. Like he'll probably have a pretty high yards per catch. I think he's going to be a downfield guy because DJ Moore can win at all 3 levels. Keenan Allen is winning at the short to intermediate. And I think Odunze is going to be your intermediate deep guy. And then you have really everything kind of covered with a good amount of variability in there for your wide receiver room.
Yeah. This has got to be the most exciting wide receiver room in the league.
It's up there. Like it is. I don't know what to do with myself, if I'm being honest. Looking at it, I'm like, what's going to go wrong? Something's going to go wrong. But if one guy goes down, you still have 2 awesome receivers no matter what. Like,
and you have Velus Jones too.
Yeah. He's there. Hey, he might just eat under the new kick return rules.
Yeah. Special teams player of the year, all pro special teamer.
It might be in the cards as long as he can catch the ball.
Why don't they just let Caleb Williams return kicks on special teams?
Because you got Velus Jones Jr. Seriously, Velus Jones was drafted to be a kick returner. Like that's why he was picked where he was. And the thought was he could be a decent receiver too, but he hasn't been able to be a decent receiver. He can't catch punts, so he's just a kick returner. But these new kick return rules really fit the way that he runs. It could work. I'm not saying it will. I'm just saying maybe.
Yeah.
And then
it's exciting times.
Tight end. This is my take. This is my tinfoil hat theory. The Bears signed Gerald Everett because
they wanted Keenan Allen to have a friend.
No, not even. But hey, it works out. They're buddies. Because the free agent market for wide receiver was not there. There wasn't anyone worth paying. And they didn't know if they'd be able to trade for Keenan Allen. They didn't know if Odunze would be there at 9. And they said, we need someone who can catch the dang football. So they got
a huge target.
Gerald Everett thinking, okay, Gerald Everett can be like a pseudo wide receiver for us. Shane Waldron likes use we've seen him use, I shouldn't say likes use, we've seen him use a lot of 12 personnel in Seattle because he had to. We can make that work. But then they realize they can trade for Keenan Allen. They go, great, okay, that still works. And then Odunze falls in their laps in the draft, and they're like, oh, awesome. I mean, I think there's a chance Gerald Everett ends up being the odd man out in all this because he doesn't quite fit the picture anymore. I think there's still a role for him, but I don't think he's going to put up the numbers that...
You don't think he could take over Cole Kmet?
No, I think Cole Kmet's your dude. You paid Cole Kmet. He's your starting in-line tight end.
Yeah.
Like, I think they'll utilize Everett, but I don't think utilizing him is a focal point for this offense. When you have 3 receivers this good, why would it be?
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. And then you also have some running backs to catch the ball to the backfield too, so.
Yeah. Like, I just don't know if there's enough targets to go around, and I think Everett's going to end up being the odd man out. On the O-line, Darnell Wright, that's my dude. Like, I loved watching him play last year. If you haven't followed my work over at ontapsportsnet.com, like I graded every Bears offensive line snap last year, and Darnell Wright came in like the 3rd best offensive lineman on the team, but as a rookie who played 4 or 5 games with his right arm pretty much tied behind his back because of a shoulder injury, like he was serviceable against Max Crosby with one arm. I feel really good about Darnell Wright's future. That's a dude. That's a football player right there. When you're telling me a guy can find a way to win when he's severely handicapped like that against elite talent, that is the definition of offensive line to me, that you just find a way to win. Like, I love Darnell Wright. I hope he is a long time Bear because his future's very bright. Braxton Jones, I am not as sure about. So Braxton was a 5th round pick 2 seasons ago. Last year was his 2nd season. First game of the year, he looked awesome. He was kicking ass against Green Bay. But then a few weeks later, I mean, he plays the next 2 games, or the next game, okay, gets a neck injury, misses like 5 games, comes back, doesn't look the same. I'm not sure what to expect because of that neck injury. He looked like he had limited mobility out there, limited ability to turn. He was kind of moving like a refrigerator, like a robot, like Michael Keaton Batman. He was Michael Keaton Batman. So if he gets that flexibility, that movability back, I think there can be a future there. There is stuff to fix still though. Like his mobility, his athleticism is really impressive when he's right. He's got some of the longest arms in football. Like he can make significant first contact pretty consistently when he's focused on it. The issue is he's not always focused on it. He lets guys get into his chest, and his anchor is not there. Like he can't really stop it once a guy's in his chest. He's just going backwards. I have a question. Yeah.
Is Teven Jenkins at right tackle just completely out of the question now?
Yeah, he's one of the best guards in football.
I know. I mean, that was kind of what we were saying about Tyler Smith on the Cowboys, though. It's like all-pro guard last year, but then Tyron Smith moves on. It's like, well, is he going to move to tackle or not? And then they end up going to get another guy.
No, but with Teven, the back injuries, the neck injuries. He's not as mobile as he used to be. I don't think that he is. I don't think tackle's just in his cards anymore. Unfortunately, okay. I don't think he's the athlete he was when he was coming.
I just remember him at Oklahoma State, and then I know he's been solid interior. So you were talking about Braxton Jones, and I'm like, well, is there a chance that they kick him out and bring somebody else at guard? Or
no, I mean, so with Braxton Jones, and then I'll get to Teven. This is going to sound insane, but Trent Williams' anchor reminds me a lot of Braxton Jones' anchor. They're very similar in that aspect. Trent Williams doesn't have a good anchor. Trent Williams just is so good with his hands that he makes it not matter that he doesn't have a good anchor. Braxton needs to reach that level to become, an all-pro level tackle. If he can reach half that level, he becomes a really good tackle. It's just a question of whether that hand technique, that making that significant first contact becomes a priority in his pass sets for him, and he can vary it up enough to not become predictable, because that is the weakness in his game right now. It's not, the anchor is always going to be an issue. It's just what he can do to mitigate it.
Yeah, and I mean, with Caleb Williams' arm talent, and I mean, he's just mobile enough too, to where maybe some sacks that were given up or something before, or pressures and other things, Caleb Williams might be able to get it out, and then might just give him that little extra boost of confidence. Like, okay, we could protect this guy.
Yeah.
And I mean, sometimes that's the difference.
It might be. I mean, truly, it might be when he's not trying to figure out how he's going to keep a clean pocket for 4 seconds, just how he's going to buy an extra quarter of a second. Like,
yeah, I mean,
that can completely change the way you're attacking.
Caleb can go out there and prove that he can sling it and get out of a hairy situation. Yeah, like you said, instead of like thinking to yourself, oh, I need to hold on a little longer, it's, oh, I know if I can just be solid for this amount of time, we're going to be in a good spot. Yeah. Where I felt like Phillips held on to the ball a long time.
He did. With scrambling, that wasn't exactly helpful.
Necessary.
Like, you can scramble and help your offensive line, you can scramble and hurt it, and his was more often hurting, I think.
Yeah.
Now,
so, I mean, I think Caleb Williams just his presence, football IQ, arm talent, and just the weapons. I mean, I think that can improve this O-line greatly.
Yeah. And if Braxton Jones isn't it, they drafted a kid out of Yale, Karan Amagaji, in the 3rd round, who will hopefully be the eventual left tackle if Braxton is not. If Braxton sticks around, Amagaji has some chops at guard that you could look to as well. Or just swing tackle, which, hey, that's valuable too. On the interior, Teven Jenkins has, like I was saying, I think he's lost some mobility with all his back injuries that he's dealt with. I don't think that he's the same perimeter athlete that you want at tackle anymore. So I just don't think tackle's in the cards for him anymore. He's a guard, and I truly believe he played at an all-pro level last year when he was on the field. He covered up a lot of blemishes on that O-line last year, at center most notably. And I really think he is about to have a monster season, because this is a contract year for him. And when you're talking about a guy who has had multiple back injuries and neck injuries, this might be his only contract, his only real non-rookie pay scale contract. I think he's gonna be all out on making that money. I don't know if I want the Bears to pay him.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
But someone will. I think someone will. If he puts together 15 plus games, he's going to get a fat bag based on what we just saw in this last year in free agency.
Yeah.
And then at center, this is the big question on this O-line. You went and traded for Ryan Bates. You also signed Coleman Shelton. Ryan Bates was expected to be the starter. I think Coleman Shelton is the better center based on the tape that I've watched between the two players.
Will they get Bates from Atlanta? Where was
No,
he?
Buffalo.
Buffalo, yeah.
He barely played last year, but 2 years ago he played quite a bit. The Bears tried to sign him like 2 years ago on a restricted
love him?
tender. Yeah, no, seriously. They just love him. They tried to sign him 2 years ago as a restricted free agent. The Bills matched it, so he stayed with the Bills. And then he started for a year, then got benched, and the Bears traded for him. Either way, but both guys are like average centers, maybe average-ish, slightly below average, but they're hopefully still an upgrade from Lucas Patrick and Cody Whitehair, who were just abysmal last year.
Are Bears fans still wanting to go out and sign Connor Williams? Or did Connor Williams get signed?
I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's in the cards, because you're talking about a center with a rookie quarterback who you want familiarity. Connor Williams might not even be practicing until week 1. Like, I just think there's a lot of stuff there that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Especially when you already went out and traded for somebody and have a guy that's already in the room.
Yeah, and Coleman Shelton was fine. He's a good run blocker. His pass pro is more the question. He's small. They're both small, undersized, twitched up athletes who play with like their hair's on fire. Well, Coleman Shelton plays like his hair's on fire. Ryan Bates plays like his hair is almost on fire.
Yeah.
Like it's almost there. Coleman Shelton's like just a chicken with its head cut off sometimes.
Yeah.
Beautiful. It's fun, but it's not always purposeful. Nate Davis at right guard. This is another big question. Big free agent signing last year. Really struggled last season. Dealt with the death of his mother. Dealt with a high ankle sprain. There was a lot of stuff going on between those two, between off the field, on the field. Like, I'm hoping that he can get back to his career norms this year. I don't see a real reason why not, but he didn't go to any OTAs. So that's kind of a red flag, especially when you know how much the Bears love Ryan Bates. And Ryan Bates can also play right guard. I do think there's a real chance Coleman Shelton's your center and Ryan Bates is your right guard and Nate Davis is your swing. I don't love that idea, but I think it's a possibility just based on, I think this staff values guys who want to show up and be there.
Yeah.
Moving on to the D-line. This is the black eye. This is the roster's main concern. This is my main concern.
Montez Sweat, Defensive Player of the Year?
That would be great. That would go a long way. That's a lot.
Should I just ask that about the best edge rusher for every team in the AFC or NFC North?
They all got a shot. I mean, so on the interior, and I should specify for listeners, when I say this is what I'm worried about, it's the D line. The defensive line is thin. Andrew Billings, Gervon, Dexter, and Zach Pickens. Those are your 3 D tackles. You heard me right. 3 D tackles. That's all you got.
Gervon Dexter's pretty good, though, isn't he?
Gervon Dexter, there's a lot of reasons to be high on him and be optimistic. But his run defense was utterly abysmal down the stretch last year. Like, utterly abysmal.
Luckily, nobody runs the ball in that division.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Andrew Billings can cover a lot on the run. You know, he's like 350 pounds. It's 6 feet tall. He's just built like a Oompa Loompa, but 6 feet tall. It's awesome. Andrew Billings is actually, he's probably one of the most fun players on this roster. This dude has like a 92nd percentile broad jump, and he's just like short, squatty, and wide. It's a hysterical combo, but the dude is an awesome football player. Gervon Dexter,
a lot of power at the hips.
Yeah, whole lot. Gervon Dexter, I think there's a lot of reason to be optimistic about his pass rush. Basically, what happened with Dexter, very raw football player, very strong football player. Like, this dude is a brick house. In college, couldn't move him. Didn't matter if he was tall, didn't matter if he used his hands, couldn't move him. In the NFL, you could move him.
Yeah.
Need to learn to use those hands, needs to learn to keep the pads a little lower. I truly, if he learns to use his hands, I'm not even that worried about the pad level. but he needs to use his hands better against the run. It almost seemed like at times he was in the Bears one gap scheme. He was overly focused on getting in that gap and missed the fact that he had blindside blocks coming at him that just took him right out of the picture. So that awareness and hand usage will go a long way. Zach Pickens, I'm hopeful there's something more there. I think there's a lot of talent here. I think his hand usage is actually pretty impressive. I'd like to see him let the dog out of the cage more often, because I feel like he's almost too controlled and too thoughtful out there at times. And I just want to see him go into animal mode like Gervon Dexter does a little more, because I think he has the skills to be really good if he does that, but I just don't see it enough. At edge, Montez Sweat, there's not a lot to say. The dude's just a monster. It's a monster.
Yeah, incredible.
Yeah, long,
I wish I had
athletic.
I wish I had a Montez Sweat on my team.
Yeah. Well, you got a Micah Parsons. You'll be okay.
He's only good through week 10.
Well, I mean, maybe he should stop podcasting then, according to Malik Hooker. But anyways.
Hey, somebody had to say it.
Across from Sweat, you got DeMarcus Walker, who's a nice football player. Like, I think DeMarcus Walker is an ideal number 3 edge rusher, but a little bit underwhelming as a number 2. He brings the juice, brings the energy, big energy guy, big vibes guy, absolute dog out there. Just keeps getting the job done over and over and over, but he's not splashing that often. Dominique Robinson, I hope he's not playing much. Wasn't very good last year. Giant project coming out. I mean, dude was like a 5th round pick. Like, so project, fine, that makes sense. I just hope that he's not your number 3 edge rusher.
Are there any more edge rushers left in the free agent pool? I haven't even looked.
Not really. Emmanuel Agba is the main guy to get.
Okay.
And on the interior, I hope they sign Chris Wormley from Pittsburgh, but or not Pittsburgh, from Carolina, but historically from Pittsburgh in Baltimore. Jacob Martin's the only other interesting edge rusher here outside of the rookie. Jacob Martin, he's a wide 9 edge rusher, speed rusher. Like, he can do some damage, but you can't play him on rushing downs. And then Austin Booker, rookie 5th round pick out of Kansas, fell in the draft, was expected to go top 100. There is a lot to like. I don't expect him to get a ton of snaps this year, being, a guy who has 1 year of college football under his belt. He only had 1 year of any significant snaps in college. So there's a lot of growing there to do, but there's a lot of upside there too. Linebacker room, probably the strongest room on the defense. Everyone wants to say it's corner. I think it's linebacker by a wide margin. Margin, but like, I think this linebacker room is really impressive.
Yeah, they got to have a top 3 linebacking room in the NFL. I mean, are they like? Has anybody else spent the money they're spending on that linebacker outside of like the Ravens?
Probably not. I mean, so PFF had them number 2 or 3 on their list of top linebacker rooms. Like, they're up there. TJ Edwards is just an animal. TJ Edwards might have been the best player on the Bears defense last year. He was legitimately that good in the weak side linebacker spot, just creating takeaways with fumbles, with timely pass breakups, with getting into passing lanes. This guy blitzes from depth like not many guys in the league. Like, it's really impressive the speed that he can generate from depth to still get right in the gap and up onto the quarterback. Blitzing from depth is a weird thing to talk about, but it's something he's really, really good at. Tremaine Edmonds, I don't think his stats do it justice here. Like,
how big is Tremaine Edmonds? Because he looks huge on the field.
5.
Oh, okay. So he's that big?
Yeah, he's that big.
Okay.
He's freakishly big,
just
freakishly long, freakishly fast. But
yeah, he looks huge, and I'm like, I don't know if it's his number or what, but he might just be huge.
His processing can be a bit of an issue at times. He came in the league pretty raw. He's took some time to come around. His stats, truly, I don't think his stats will ever tell the story of his play because of what his role is. His role is quite literally, a lot of the time, to just be huge in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
Just be there. Be there, be huge, and close passing lanes in the middle of the field. and he does it. Like it doesn't. It's not the most skilled thing. It's just like you're there. You're freakishly big and long and fast. Just make it tough on the quarterback. And that's not the type of thing that shows up in stats because the ball just doesn't get thrown a lot of times.
Yeah.
Now, on run defense, I want a little more from him. I don't expect him to become Fred Warner or anything, but I just want to see a little more stack and shed ability from him. He's that long. He's plenty strong. He should be able to do a little more than he does. And some more sound tackling would be nice. But ultimately, you paid Tremaine Edmonds to be a big obstacle in the middle of your defense, and that's what he is. Like, I can't say I'm disappointed in it necessarily. And Jackie Sanborn, this statue is being built outside Soldier Field already. Since his first game as an undrafted free agent, the local kid made good. And this dude can play football, man. He's just instinctive. He flies around, lays the wood on people, man. Just knocks them. You're not a Bears fan if you don't love Jack Sanborn.
Yeah.
And then in the secondary, the second best strength on this defense, cornerback room, Jaylon Johnson coming off a second team all pro after being robbed of first team by Deron Bland. Sorry, I had to. I'm still sour about that.
Deron Bland's not very good.
I know. He's good at getting pick sixes, though. I mean, there's something to be said for that. But anyways,
I guess.
Jaylon Johnson coming off the best season of his career. I don't think he's going to be able to replicate this season. And I don't think it's because he's not that good. I think it's because last season was a perfect storm of great elements for him. Tyreek Stevenson gave up 836 yards and 9 touchdowns last year as a rookie. Why would a quarterback throw at Jaylon Johnson when he knows he has that on the other side? I think a lot of quarterbacks just weren't interested in throwing at Jaylon Johnson. I don't think that means that Jaylon Johnson's not good. I don't think that means that it's undeserved the money he got or the accolades he got. I just don't know if these numbers are replicable for him necessarily next year because he's going to get more attention because Tyreek Stevenson, over the last 8 games of the year, it clicked. He started figuring it out. Most of those stats he gave up were from the first half of the season. He started getting a bunch of picks, a bunch of PBUs, and being a real pain for quarterbacks. So I think Johnson is going to see more action this year. Tyreek Stevenson, I'm hoping for him to get a nice second-year jump because, like I said, it all clicked for him down the stretch last year. It looked like. I don't think he's going to instantly become some top 20 cornerback or anything. Top 10, probably top. I think he'll be somewhere like just outside the top 20.
Yeah.
But I think he's going to be a solid starter this year, and I think his upside is really high. I think this kid can be a really good player in this league. And Kyler Gordon in the nickel, good football player, wreaks havoc, runs around like crazy. He attacks the running lanes like crazy, which is great to see from a nickel corner. And, I mean, his nickname Spider-Man is about as good a nickname as you're going to find in the league because this dude can just do some wild stuff physically. Like, he just moves weird ways. The depth here, I like the depth of this corner room enough. Terrell Smith, I think, is solid depth. Like, I'm not wanting Terrell Smith to start games, but I feel okay if you need to start him. Behind that, Greg Stroman, Jalen Jones, and Josh Blackwell. All 3 guys have spent some time with the Bears here, have done some good stuff, some bad stuff. I think it's about as good as any corner room you're going to find in the league. And then at safety
room is solid.
I like the corner room better than the safety room.
Do you? I like Jonathan Owens a lot. Kevin Byard's getting a little older, but I mean, with Jaquan Brisker there too. I mean, I really like the safety room.
So here's my thing with the safety room. I don't think you can play Jaquan Brisker high.
Yeah.
Which means Kevin Byard needs to be your center fielder, which I think he can do. But I need to see it at, I think he's 32, 33 years old now. I need to see it before I trust it. Which he was still doing it okay last year. He might still be doing it okay this year. I need some proof before I'm buying that heavily. Because Jaquan Brisker, he plays a lot of buzz. He plays a lot of shallow, shallow coverages, flat coverage. That's what I was looking for. He plays a lot of flat, a lot of hook zones, a lot of robber stuff. He's not playing the single high safety, and he's not excelling as a 2 high safety. He's not excelling in the cover 2 looks that you put out there, the split field. Where he really excels, Jaquan Brisker is a football player who excels moving forwards, which is good, which is fine.
Yeah.
As long as you put him in the role to excel doing that. Jonathan Owens, I think he can do a little of both. I don't think he excels at either, but I think he can do both. Probably better as the moving forward, as a safety who moves forward, which is good considering Jaquan Brisker's concussion issues last year. But
I think Jonathan Owens watching his wife go out and win like 7 gold medals this summer is really going to help him go out there and win the Super Bowl for the Bears.
I hope so. Man. But and Kevin Byard, if he is what he has been the last few years, I feel good about this safety room. But I like the corner room more, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, but I mean, solid DB room all around.
The DBs need to carry the load for this defense because Montez Sweat is not enough on the D line.
In this division, I mean, if you can slow down that passing game in Detroit, and then if your linebackers and maybe get a little bit of help out of this defensive line, slow down the run game, what Green Bay is going to have, I mean, it'll be looking solid. I mean, I love the Bears this year. You want to go ahead and talk about win totals?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, I'm smashing the over here. 8.5 is criminal.
It is -150. It's probably already juiced up to 9.5. This is from over a month ago.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take over 10 or whatever that number would be. I'll take over 11. I mean, I look at this Bears schedule.
The playoff line has changed, though. I think it's still like -110 to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I look at this Bears schedule, and I mean, I look at this team, and everything we talked about Caleb Williams already in this offense. I mean, you can't predict injuries, so I mean, you can't be like, well, they're thin here, so I mean, if this happens, then they're screwed. I mean, can't predict injuries, but I mean, looking at this team, I don't know if anybody can stop this offense, and I think the defense is adequate enough to be the 1 seed in the NFC.
Yeah, I think we're going to see some shootouts. I really do, which is very odd to say as a Bears fan, but and not because I don't think the DB room is good, because I just think it can only do so much if the pass rush isn't getting home, and I think there will be some games like the Rams game. And I think the game against the Rams is going to be an absolute barn burner.
And then when you have an offense that's good too, I don't know much about Shane Waldron, but there's going to come times in the season where you might be able to score in 3 or 4 plays, but you got to be able to like put the reins on and be like, we need a 12-play drive here to get our defense a little rest. Yeah, and I think that was a little bit of it. Like Patrick Mahomes' early years in KC, I think they struggled with that, and they found themselves in some really, really high scoring games and shootouts. It's like, just because you have the ability to score in 3 plays and a touchdown drive is never a bad thing, but a touchdown drive when you're taking 23 seconds of game clock off the game can kind of hurt you in the long run. And I mean, I think they might have a little bit of that issue this year. Especially in certain games and certain situations. Like they're going to have to learn how to slow it down when they need to and really eat clock and have a productive drive and still get 6 at the end of it.
You want to know a conspiracy theory?
I love conspiracy theories.
All right, tinfoil hat time. The Bears drafted Torrey Taylor because of his excellent drop kick abilities with the new kickoff rules.
What are the new kickoff rules with drop kicks?
So there's no change there. You can drop kick, and you can force all the new players who are going to be doing kick returns, you can force them to essentially catch a ball with wild spin like a punt. You can't spin a ball off a tee the way you can.
Yeah. But nobody can move until the player catches the ball too, right?
Or drops it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I like the conspiracy.
I think because of the punting aspect and the aiming of the punt, you can start to mess up for their formations, what they're trying to do, and really kind of.
Is the kickoff a punt now, or are they still kicking off a tee?
Off a tee or drop kick.
Or drop kick, okay.
Yeah, and Tory Taylor has been drop kicking his whole life in Australian rules football.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they at least try it out.
And he's the size of a linebacker. He can knock it out, too.
See, I think that's going to be I think they're going to kickoff teams are going to be trying more skill-based players to kick the ball because you kind of need an extra safety out there because, I mean, there's going to be you don't have like the old days where it's like, well, you're basically defending with 10 men and hoping and praying that if it gets past everybody, like your kicker can catch a shoelace. Like, you don't really have that luxury anymore.
Or imagine this: Tory Taylor drop kicks it, guy tries to field it at the 10-yard line, can't quite get the grasp on it, goes out of bounds to 2. Ball's at the 2-yard line. Boom.
Yeah.
Or ball goes out the end zone. Free 2 points and the ball.
Yeah. I wouldn't expect that to happen, but I think there will be a couple drops.
Let me tell you this much. If Velus Jones is returning the kick, that might happen if you can put a punt spin on it, because he can't catch punts. He can only catch kicks.
Yeah.
This is a real thing. No one likes special teams, but it's real.
Yeah, no, third of the game.
Well, maybe not a third.
That's what Belichick says. I'll agree with him.
All right. So let's take a look at the win totals that we got here. Now that I'm done with my special teams rant that no one wanted to hear. So where are we different? Week 2, I've got the Texans beating the Bears. You've got the Bears. You got the Bears going on here, 5-0 to start the year.
Oh, I love this Bears team.
Yeah, I've got them dropping 2 of the first 3 before getting on a bit of a roll. We both have them losing to the Jags in London. And then I've got them beating the Packers twice. You've got them beating the Packers once. I'm hanging on to this hope that Caleb Williams is the ultimate Packers slayer. And it's just going to be like the Packers did not beat the Bears for 20 years after Caleb Williams showed up. Because that's how I feel on the other end of it.
Yeah.
And then I've got the Bears dropping 1 to the Vikings just because weird stuff happens.
Weird things.
And we actually got quite a bit different down the stretch here, but
yeah, I have them losing the Lions in Chicago late in the season. You have the Seahawks beating them in Chicago late in the season. Thursday Night Football.
And then ultimately, you have the Bears at a whopping 13-4.
One seed in the NFC, baby.
I'm gonna change one of mine.
All right,
so I've got them losing. See, this is where it gets tough because it's like the Vikings are gonna win games, but what games? Like, their schedule is brutal. I'm gonna have to go Vikings. Bears are gonna beat the Vikings twice, so I've got the Bears at 10-7. Jay's got them at 13-4. I knew coming into this, I didn't want to keep the Bears at 9-6 or 9-8. I knew I wanted to give them one. I just wasn't sure which one more. Bears have the 3rd easiest schedule according to Vegas, 6th easiest schedule according to traditional strength of schedule. They're looking really favorable. It's an exciting time to be a Bears fan, people.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't see how this Bears team doesn't win 10 games easily. And then I think they can get 3 more after that.
I love the optimism.
You play to win the game. Hello? You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it.